we are going to focus on reviewing properties today, addition and multiplication properties. So we're just going to make a quick foldable on video today and be able to identify those properties. This is kind of a review from 4th grade. So I want you to take your sheet of paper that is in the bucket. I want you to fold it in half long ways. Okay, so just like this. Then I want you to fold it down in half and then fold it in thirds so that when you finish folding and you unfold it, you will have 6 doors. I want you to open it up, open the paper completely up, and cut just the door to the long fold. Okay, once you get your doors cut, I want you to shut them again. And we're going to start on that top. All right, so here is door 1. Let me get that a little closer so you can see it better. And I'm going to write with markers. You're more than welcome to write with markers or pencil or whatever you would like. So door 1 on the outside, I would like you to write commutative property of addition. Commutative, so COMMUTATIVE, commutative property of addition. Okay. Door 2, I would like you to write associative property of addition. Associative property of addition. The next one, I would like you to write identity property of addition. Identity property of addition. Okay. The next door, I want you to go down and we are going to commutative property of multiplication. Commutative property of multiplication. Okay. Then I want associative property of multiplication. And then the last door is going to be identity property of multiplication. Identity property of multiplication. Okay. All right, so we have our 6 properties written down. We're going to go back to door 1, and I'm going to flip open that door. on the left-hand side over here is where we're going to write the definition to commutative property. And then over here, we'll write an example. So I am going to write my definition in pencil, and then I'm going to write my example in marker. Okay, so right here on the left, my definition of commutative property of addition: if the order of addends changes, the sum stays the same. So if the order of the numbers you're adding change, the sum will stay the same. So if the order of addends those are the numbers you're adding. If the order of addends changes, the sum stays the same. Okay, and an example, I did that in purple. An example of that would be 12 plus 7 is equal to 7 plus 12. Changing which one I'm adding first doesn't change the answer. That is commutative property. So the numbers move, but the answer's still the same. Okay, let's go to associative property. If the grouping of addends, those are the numbers you're adding, changes, the sum stays the same. Okay, so an example of that one would be, let's say I have 5 plus a parentheses 8 plus 14 parentheses is equal to, and this time I have 5 plus 8 plus 14, but I have the parentheses around the 5 and the 8. Well, we know that parentheses go first, but 8 plus 14 and then adding 5 would be the same as adding the 5 and the 8 and then adding 14. So the grouping symbol moved, but because it's all addition, the answer did not change. Okay, so there's associative property of addition, commutative property of addition. All right, we're on identity properties. Open that one up. The sum of any number and 0 is that number. The sum of any number and 0 is that number. We know that if I add 0 to any number, it's still going to give me the other number because it keeps its identity. It keeps its identity. So 13 plus 0 equals 13. It doesn't change. It keeps its identity when I add 0 to it. Okay, that takes me to commutative property of multiplication. Open that up. Commutative property of it says, if the order of factors, well, I need to know what factors are. Remember, factors are the numbers we're multiplying to get a product. So if the order of factors changes, the product stays the same. So an example of that could be 4 times 9 is equal to 9 times 4. My answer doesn't change. That's going to do the same thing. Okay. Associative property of multiplication. That rule says if the grouping, so associative has the grouping symbols, okay? So remember that. If the grouping of factors changes, the product stays the same. All right, so an example could be, let's say I have 11 times 3 times 6 equals 11 times 3 times 6. And let's say the first time I want to do the 3 and the 6. I want to multiply those first. So I put parentheses around them. Well, that's still going to be the same thing if I change that because it's all multiplications. The numbers didn't move, just the parentheses moved. In commutative, the numbers move. In associative, just the grouping symbols move and the parentheses stay the same. Okay, last one. What can I multiply to keep that number? It's to keep that number's identity. So the product, I want you to think about that. The product of any number and 1 is that number. Right? I can multiply any number by 1 and get that same answer. So 4 times 1 equals 4. That's identity property of multiplication. That's the only number I can multiply a number by and keep it. So the only number I can add to a number to keep its identity is 0. The only number I can multiply by is 1. So you're going to close all your doors. And then you will glue this in the foldable section of your notebook. So at the table of contents of your notebook, I want you to write properties. So properties, and then put it in the foldable section of your notebook. And I would glue it in, I would fold it up just like that to glue, put glue just on this back side so that it doesn't hang out of your binder. Okay. So now that you have the properties done, you're going to go to the Try Me. And on the Try Me, it is going to be just really identifying what property they're using. So when you're done with that, turn it into the bucket.